Man who is brave. Man who takes all the responsibility. Man who is a prowess of the society takes a drastic step of suicide, and that suicide is termed out to be an act of cowardice. If there is an identity of a man, it's only because of a woman's womb. Completely showcases the desperacy and helplessness of a woman. Self-respect is everything. Women is always termed feeble. Women is subjugated in the society. Women had an unequal opportunities in the patriarchal society. But now, gone are the days. Women mounted the rides always towards the success. Hello everyone. Here I am embracing you all with all happiness and at your pink health. To my prologue, wherein women is termed feeble. Woman is termed to be incomplete without a man. Here is a contradict showcasing the empowerment of women. A woman who stood by her children. A woman who taught that always it's not a man who plays a pivotal role in nurturing the children. Woman who bears all the pains of the society, who is born with a bent head, rises her head only to that extent of triumph. Today, this generation wherein woman is equally given all the opportunities to fulfill her dreams as well as her expectation. It's only because of her unlimited prowess and also the extent of her capacity. The capability, what she shares is never let to say that she is the goddess of all the imageries that you can imagine. Here, yet bringing to you another poem, The Farmer's Wife by P. Lalita Kumari, known by her pen name Olga, wherein a farmer who is known to be a man in gender, man who is brave, man who takes all the responsibility, man who is a prowess of the society, takes a drastic step of suicide, and that suicide is termed out to be an act of cowardice. The poet in herself symbolizes all the women extenses to this poem. She says, or in simple words if I have to tell you, she narrates how a woman is agonized by her husband's death. And that death wasn't natural. That was a drastic step of cowardice wherein a farmer chose death to life. He wasn't brave to take all the responsibility of the family. When I say all, it includes everything, personal as well as professional. A poem can alone explain you what is it all about. As I have entitled the poem as significance of the title here. Here you have The Farmer's Wife, which was in Telugu in origin and that was translated. And how is it titled in Telugu? Chavni Kadu Badukuni. Life, not death. Chavni is death. Badukuni is life. So here you can see the decision of a woman who says that I will choose life, not death, in a very sarcastic tone, in a tone wherein it should reach her dead husband. She stands in front of the mortal remains of her husband, wherein he is laid in a bier. He is laid on a bier and she sheds her tears. Having nurtured her children so far with all the difficulties, what blow she would have got? That's what it is explained in the poem. Let's look on to this, entitled with the term sarcasm. Sarcasm indicates pain. She isn't insulting her husband. In the other way around, she wants to console herself. She wants to reach her agony and the sorrow to that mortal remain or the dead body of a farmer. He is gone. And she says, you are virtuous and you are gone. You refers to the farmer. Virtuous with all morals. You are virtuous, yes. You had all the morality of your life. And you are gone and you are dead. You are virtuous. You are brave to take a drastic step of suicide. Poor sinner that I am remain. Why am I alive? Only because I am a sinner. When I say I am the mouthpiece of this poor woman, of the farmer's wife. I am that wife of the poor farmer who is endorsing her pain to you. And she says that you are with all the morality. You did not want to bend your head down for umpteen reasons that might be. But I am a sinner, that I remain. Now, I need to take all the subjugations of the society, all the insult of the society. Before your creditors, creditors the one where he has taken loan. Creditors are those who lend money. So tomorrow, after your death, the creditors will come and I need to fulfill the debt. How do I do that? I remain alive in front of your creditors, the one from whom you have taken money. They will come to the doorstep tomorrow asking for the same money that you have borrowed from them. Unable to bend your head. You are unable to bend your head or stretch out your hand or sell your crops. You crossed over. You crossed over refers to you are dead. Cross over refers to dead. You took a drastic step, and this shows that you are a coward. The tone of sarcasm in the first paragraph is very much palpable, is very much obvious. And she says that tomorrow you did not want to bend your head in front of creditors because you had no money. You did not want to stretch your arms for more money because you are virtuous. You had all the moralities of life. Tomorrow I am in the same position. You are dead, but I need to bend my head in front of the same creditors that you were reluctant to. That's what the first paragraph is. The first paragraph is made very simple. It shows that the farmer is dead. What is left behind is only his wife and children. The children aren't represented here, but it shows the helplessness of farmer's wife, wherein she is reluctant to accept the truth. What will she do? How will she survive along with the children in this cruel world and the society, which terms women in all the ways possible and subjugated? The predominance of patriarchal family, the predominance of male chauvinistic society will snub her. She'll be down in the dumps only because she cannot pay back the creditors and she has nothing to do. But she is very powerful. We normally say that a man completes a woman. A man completes a woman. A woman is complete only because of man. Even in colloquial, even in history, as well as while you write the gender. Even when it comes to plural also, women. A woman is incomplete without man. But if there is an identity of a man, it's only because of a woman's womb. And this truth is not denied at all. That's what it says here, that I am powerful. You bent over. You bend across your legs, and from tomorrow I need to bend my head in front of the same creditors that you were reluctant to bend with the same. And next, it is entitled as patriarchy. Patriarchy, wherein there is a male dominance, wherein your father is the head of the family. The opposite or the antonym of patriarchy is matriarchy, wherein the mother is the superior. Here, those were the days when patriarchy overwhelmed the society. The frame was completely of male domains. The domain were completely of men. Women were only meant amidst the four walls. Cooking, washing vessels, washing clothes, looking after the family. And that's all. And there are no credits at all. Woman is always subjugated. She is insulted, though she has been sacrificing herself to that particular society. But of course, time and again, it has changed. But there are villages, there are still places wherein the occurrence of the same scene over and over again. And so what is the second paragraph all about? It's about patriarchy. It shows the patriarchal society, the dominance of patriarchal society. But I was born. I refers to the farmer's wife. But I was born with a head bent. Women or a girl is always born with a head bent. How are you supposed to be in the society? You need to be with all virtue. You cannot go out late in the evening. Whenever there are some guests at home, you'll have to bend your head. You are born with the bent head. So what is new in that? A girl child has always been a burden to their father. Especially, of course, a mother can understand the femininity, you see. They are born. It's all time that she is married off. When I use off, that is no botherance at all. Get rid of. That's what they say. But you could not bend your head is what she says. You could not bend your head, but I am born with the head bent. And hand outstretched. Outstretched is to beg. I'm always born with that. As a baby girl, I was a burden. After wedlock, still I am a burden. And after death also, I will be the same. So what is my identity? I am born with a head bent and hand outstretched. The scenario completely showcases the desperacy and helplessness of a woman. I did not to expand this because everybody knows the present situation, the past as well as the future. Future might be very drastic. There might be women empowerment also. But let's talk about farmer's wife who don't belong to our generation, wherein there are many women in the outskirts of India, again in all of the divided states, districts and places and the vicinity wherein they have to cross these plights. They would have a very sabbatical life fighting for their identity. Of course, there were three waves of feminism. Feminism would have brought all the empowerment. To whom? To those women who have empowered themselves. But how about empowering these women who still cries out of their dead husband in front of the creditors? So she says that I'm not in feminism at all. This is the other way around. My critical prejudice states this. I don't belong there. I don't belong to that society wherein I am born with head right up straight, stating that I am proud. Because I'm always born with a head bent. And this is much to the explanation. Not unused to being sold. Knowing all this, did you leave me? I'm not unused to be sold also. Women are meant for that. Women are always objectified. Women are always termed to be an object. Wherever you go, there is an objectification of a woman. And this is not new to me is what she says. I'm not unused to be sold. My father sold me to you. Tomorrow I'll sell myself only because of my children. So this is not something new to me. It's always been a baggage to the family. Have been a baggage to the family. They sold me to you. And tomorrow only because you're dead. You knew this will happen, but still you chose death over life. And you weren't ignorant. You did not think about your family. Knowing all this, did you leave me? Here is the question mark. This question mark is an indication that she needs answer from her husband. But is he reliable? He isn't, because he crossed over his legs. He crossed over. He is dead. How will he answer? She is questioning the mortal remains. She is questioning the body wherein pathetically he is on the bier. You found release with poison. So here it shows the scenario and the reality. So what did he choose? He chose death to life. He poisoned himself. That was an easy rescue. He wasn't into reality. This farmer was an escapist. Whatever the problems are, once you're into this world, you're there to accept truth. And the truth is, you will have difficulty, you will have ease. We have to fight together. We have to surpass all the hurdles of difficulty and reach that ease. Life isn't easy. But he did not dare to understand that. He did not think even once, he did not give a second thought about his family. So he poisoned himself. That was an easy way. Poisoning my bitter existence. You did not only poison yourself, You have poisoned my bitter existence. My livelihood from now would be very bitter. People would not respect me the way the time you were with me. And you will all know the consequences. My life would be pathetic. I would have to surpass the hardship of life all alone. The cotton crop is but yesterday's, but a family. So what was the reason? This was the result. Poisoning himself was the result. The result was he is dead. The result was he poisoned himself. So what was the reason? The reason stands this. Because of the failure of the crops. Only because he did not sow, or you can say that he did not reap what he sowed. That was the reason. He did not get the complete cultivation. He would have taken money from the creditors only for this crop. But this crop did not give that yield, the expected yield. Needless to say, the plight of farmers. How many suicide cases have we witnessed in the newspapers and the news or the airing across? Every year we have this message from the news. They would have got all the expenses from the government. But can they fulfill the void of the lost farmer? They can't. So this is not the first thing that we are talking about, the farmer's wife or the dead farmer. History results that. History is a proof that this has been, it's been like a legacy. It's been a legacy. Every year we have a deprived farmer taking a drastic step of suicide. And here this farmer stands no more different. But it's an act of cowardice. My question is, a simple question in narration is, when a farmer decides to kill himself, he is very brave to poison or hang himself. Don't he have that courage to live in the same society and fight for the one? He is brave to poison himself. Can't he show his bravery there in living? That's where they are. They remain uneducated. Illiteracy. All over again, we have been witnessing even the illiterates also. They take a drastic step of suicide, though they termed it as depression. So what was the reason for the depression here? In simple words, in the modernized word, if I have to talk about, not sarcastic though. So what was the reason? That he did not get the complete expected yield from the crop. He would have spent more and more money, like all of his life's earning only to yield that crop. But did he get the result? He did not. So he poisoned himself. The reason being that the crop failed. Only because of the crop that can be nurtured again the next year. He chose death to life. And she leaves a question here. But her family? She says, you thought about the crop, the lost crop, the crop which did not yield you the expected result. But how about a family? Family was yours. We were all with you. She leaves a question to the farmer. But will he answer? He will not. Next. Here, it's entitled as Harsh Reality. Harsh reality, that's what we witness in our life. Life is not a fairy tale. It's completely filled of reality. But we can term this reality as a fairy tale if we are optimistic enough. But the farmer was very different from the thought that we hold. So what is it all about? How often have I drowned in it? How many times have I escaped death? She asks him. So here it shows that she is very strong. She is very strong, wherein she says that you aren't the same, wherein you would have witnessed failure. I am also the one wherein I have witnessed, I have drowned in it. Drowned in the sense, drowned in the failure. She is talking about drowning in the failure. I have also failed. You are not alone to be there under poverty. I am also in the mainstream of poverty, the same like you. How many times have I escaped the death? But I did not choose death. I chose my life. Some of the other time I thought that yes, I should die. But I thought about my children. But you did not. Whether you abused or reviled me. Reviled in the sense domestic violence. You would have beaten me harshly. You would have bruised me. There was a mental torture, there was a physical torture, you harassed me, there was a domestic violence. I suffered everything. Why? Kick me when you were drunk. Drunk indicates depression again. He was drunk. You kicked me whenever you were drunk. This is not something new to me and you, of course. I thought he is but a man. Understand this. He is but a man. What is manhood? What does that mean, being a man? You harass women, you molest a woman, you eat a woman, splash acids on their beautiful face only so that they can't be any others. If this is manhood, we completely disagree with the definition of manhood. A man is one who holds women in the highest degree only because he knows the importance and the value of being a woman. Being a man is that masculine power wherein he thinks that femininity or feminine power is as equal or more equal than of the masculine power. That's being a man. But here, she thinks that you are a man and I bore everything on me. We women are very submissive. We women, even now also, there are many submissive women who think that after all, he is a man. He can do anything. But let's put a very wider cross-mark. Let's score off our ideas, stating that no. As far as we are empowered, as far as we have our own identity, it's not only the identity of a man that respects the society. It's equivalent to that of a woman's identity also. That's where she loses for the very first time. Even though you have been harassing me, even though I was bruised very badly, I was profusely bleeding to death, you kicked me, but still I held myself, stating that after all, you are a man. Man shows a masculine power. She terms man to be very brave and powerful. But was he the one? No, he could show his manhood only on a woman. But he could not stand upright for the family to face the problems. He couldn't face the problems at all. Little did I dream you would deal me a death blow like this. Even though you have beaten me up, I was completely beaten up by you while you were drunk. But I did not know that you were too very coward that you have given this death blow to me. Along with you, I also died. I'm there on the same bier as you are. It's not only you who is dead. You have given me a death blow. And next you have entitled helplessness. Every entitlement is intertwined. It's completely linked with that of each other as with the stanzas. So what is the helplessness all about? She goes on agonizing. She says, true, the crop was gone, I agree. The crop was gone. We did not yield the expected crop. The debt remained. We couldn't pay back the money to the creditors. It's adding on. Our dignity hit the dust. Dignity is nothing but the respect. Our respect has hit the dust. Our hearts turn to water. What is the significance of heart and water? Heart pumps blood. But here, we don't have our identity at all. We are bloodless now. Our self-respect just flew like water. It's meandering just like water. There is no identity. So, heart is connected with that of water, stating that they have lost everything what they had. And now, they don't have any respect in the society. But how did you imagine my back would bear the burden of 4 children? So, everything you imagined. You thought about the future. You thought what will happen if the crop did not come out good? What will happen if I can't pay back the debt to the creditors? You thought everything. But how did you think that I alone can take the baggage of my children? How can I be burdened with 4 children? What will I do without you? A man stands all the power to his woman or to his wife. But here he chose death to life. And how? Poisoning himself. So she again leaves a question. My back would bear the burden of 4 children. How can you ever think that? My back, in the sense, my shoulder. Or how would I take the responsibility of my 4 children alone? You will have a clear picture of a deprived woman or a helpless woman, a woman who has to have a survival all alone in this cruel world. You will know the society. You will know how society will treat her, how men will treat her, what she has to do for her survival. It's not only about her survival, it's about the survival of her children, so termed as family. and tears alone cannot help. And she goes on saying with the entitlement known as criticizing. She started with all sarcasm and now she starts criticizing. Mind you, criticizing isn't insulting like sarcasm. Sarcasm isn't also insulting as well. Criticizing in the sense showing them what they are, giving them a right picture, and she gives a very criticizing notion about her husband's decision. And what is she all about to say? You saw your crop destroyed. Yes, you are obvious to the crops. You saw how crops hit the dust. They did not yield you good result. What of the harvest of my womb? When she talks about womb, she's talking about her children. In the other way around, when you can see the further illustration shown to you in the next slide, you will see that there are three children standing aside her. In the other way around, you can term that she has conceived again. So how will I do that with my womb, the harvest of the womb? You only thought about the crop that can be yielded the next year, the result you are palpable with. But what will I do with my womb, the harvest of my womb? I have to survive for that. I cannot let it go the way it has to be. Can I leave them to the wind? Like worm-eaten pods, our crops were eaten by pods. Or you can see that the worm-eaten also refers that the crops were eaten by the worms. The cotton pods were eaten by the worms. So can I leave my children just like that, the way you did with us? The crops can be yielded. But children, they are blessings of God. How can I leave them to the wind? In the says that, how can I die just like you? It takes a moment to die. True to the point. It just takes a moment to die. But open your mouth and ask, what of this? What of this? She is referring to the former lines. The latter is also connected with that of the former lines. She says, what about my womb? You thought about the crop which can be regenerated or revived next year. It will have a rejuvenation. It can be regenerated. But how about my womb? How will I bother my children? How will I take care of my children? And that will bother the society and society will bother me. You did not think about that. Why is this? She's questioning every time there is a question. What of this? Why is this? Needs a firm heart. She says, you are disheartened, but I'm not a weak heart like you. Women are always termed to be unequal. She's termed to be feeble and delicate. But no, here is a contradict to whatever I have started with the prologue. Here she says that I am strong. I'm not a coward like you who took a drastic step of cowardice. I will stand firm only to serve my society and my children. Needs a firm heart in the sense a heart or a brave heart. In simple, she says that I am a brave heart. I'm very dedicated and I'll work diligently so that I might not be compared with that of you. To teach my children to clench a fist. I will teach my children to clench a fist in the sense that whenever you're hungry, you have to control yourself. To clench, it can be like this. Stiffly, you overrule your hand or the fist. I teach my children or clench a fist, not merely for a handful of rice. I'll not teach them only to beg. I'll teach them all the protocols to lead a life. That's a dedication that she shows here. And further here, revival and empowered. She is empowered here. There's a revival. She has been questioning her husband. Was he able to answer? It's known to all, no, because he is dead. So she takes a resolution. She resolutes her thought. She resolutes herself stating that I'll be revived and I'll have a salvation. But how? Not by this death blow. I will, but in battle I must live. What is the battle all about? She's talking about the battle of life, wherein she has to step into that same bad society. Men will harass her. She has to go home and home only for her survival. She has to nurture her children. The desperacy that she is talking about is the battle. Our life is no less than a battle. Every time this world is a battleground. Every day in a war. We are fighting a battle. Our life is a war, and every day is a battle. We have to win that. And she says that, but in battle I must live. I will live in my battle because I'm very brave. I must embrace life, not death, unlike you. I will embrace life, not death. That's what the significance of the title. Life, not death. Embrace life and the struggles for life. Life isn't easy. I know that I'll have a very sabbatical life, but that wouldn't be easy at all for me. But just like the way you did, I'm not the one to take that drastic step of suicide. I'll not poison the way you did to yourself. And next, here is a message that implies life. This is the same illustration that you can find in the context of your text to leave. And you see, farmer's wife, let's ignore the farmer first. Farmer's wife, her 3 children. If you're searching for the 4th one, I have told you it's still in her womb, probably and tentatively, as it goes with the lines of the poem, of course. And you can see the society here. These are the creditors, which shows the matriarchal departure, or you can say that the patriarchal power. Here is a farmer who is on the bier, all consolingly dead. And he is with no fear, he is of no worries at all. And you can see this woman all in tears. She's completely broken into tears, and her children who is yet to be nurtured. So one illustration worth 1,000 words. So you can see this in the same context as we do. So what are the expected questions? Essence of the poetry is equally important, and here you have to elaborate the tone of the poem. The tone of the poem is sarcasm, criticism, and also sometimes the rejuvenation. So the term you can entitle it as sarcasm and criticism, and also the agony. Out of the agony, the tone is sarcasm and criticizing. Next, what message does the poet give in this poem? That life is, after all, to have a sabbatical life. Life isn't easy. We have to lead a life. So you can critically analyze this in your own words in the perception of the poet. What are the consequences would the farmer's wife face in the absence of her husband? This is nothing new to you to explain. You have been watching movies, you have been studying articles, what all the hardships a woman has to face without the power of men. Or you have to say a single woman. For a single woman, it's very difficult to lead a life in the patriarchal society. Next, winding up. Life isn't easy. I have been narrating this all over and over again. Here is a message that I'll read out for you. Life is all about challenges. There's nothing new in that. Let's challenge life. Life is completely with challenges. Let's challenge life to deal with the testing period. Today, tomorrow is a testing period. What is gone? Bygone days are testing period. It's done and over. It's done and dusted. But now we have to look forward, only so that that testing period becomes with that of the good result. It comes out as a flowery wind. Next, let's cherish what is given by God. Life is given by God. Why don't we cherish? Stay happy and let others be too. Gandhiji's assertion, live and let live, makes it very simple and lucid and subtle, stating that let's live the way we want. Live and let live. You be happy, let others be happy. Let's not take a drastic step of suicide. It's very easy to communicate through words, but the one who has been surpassing all the hurdles, at the end, what is the last resort that they find is only suicide, just like the farmer. So let's not compare ourselves with that of the farmer. Let's be the farmer's wife who stood amidst the odds of life and the society, promising herself to give a good future to her children. And this takes me to the another protocol of thanking. Here's Vidyashram for you, standard retained on learning. I'll see you with yet again a new session with all pride and humble nature to cross your path. Until then, stay home, stay safe, stay educated. Take care.